And this is actually one of the reasons why Black businesses can't scale, because we are wearing all these hats thinking that we could be a master of it all. And I'm not saying that we can't, but it's now time to lift off now. Not efficient, not productive, and it's actually holding you back from scaling and being a multimillionaire. So when we look at artificial intelligence, how can it help? It can help with everything.
Everything black on black. If I studied that facts on facts.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black is the New Rich podcast. I am your host, Corey Cash, and today we have a very special guest, and we're going to talk about a topic that is honestly taking over headlines. If you haven't heard about Chat GPT, I do not know what you're doing. Artificial intelligence is taking over, but I do not want to keep on talking. Can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me, Corey. Honestly, this is such a blessed movement that you're on. So
thank you.
It's a lot of heavy lifting that you're doing, but I appreciate it because it's all for the culture. So thank you. My name is Edwina McKennon. If this is the first time you're hearing my voice, I am the founder and the exec behind Move Her Forward, which is a podcast that's focused on empowering women. I'm also a senior business executive where I really focus on insurance and insurtech and anything tech related. I'm definitely there. I've been working for, I don't want to expose my age, but about 20 years. So I have definitely a track record for success. And my mental state is always like, how do I pay it forward to not just myself, but to many generations after me. So I'm definitely excited to be here. Really happy to be able to drop some knowledge for your listeners and just really looking to move everyone forward. I also want to talk about something that I'm going to be releasing in the summer, which is called Future IQ. It's a business that's going to be dedicated to digitalization and allowing small businesses to be able to transform and keep up to the times being digital.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, so definitely going to be a revolution on itself. So allowing people that don't have accessibility to like AI tools and the solution around digitalization to now be able to access it at an affordable rate. So really excited about that.
Okay, amazing. Well, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
So, artificial intelligence, it's taking over headlines. But before we talk about exactly what's going on right now, can you tell me like your lead up to being interested in artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. Actually, there was a startup that I worked for about a few years ago that was focused on technology and the adoption of new technology. And something that we kept talking about was artificial intelligence. And at that time, this was like probably back in 2020, I didn't really understand what the dynamics and ramification it is until I actually started working in it and started making me realize that there's something that was happening. There was a shift that was taking place. And so worked within it to the point where I was able to actually automate my whole role. To the point where the company actually just didn't need me. So automated my whole role. And then I started to really take a deep dive into technology and just became really passionate and fascinated about artificial intelligence. And the reason why it really kind of got me really passionate is because, especially for the Black community, we're never really at the beginning.
Yes. We have an opportunity now.
Absolutely. So we're at the beginning of something massive. And if we look through, just how culture and just how time is, we were always kind of the ones left behind and left in the dark. So I was like, why not? Why not be at the forefront of something that is going to, shift the way that and we'll talk about this, shift the way that we do things just on a whole. So I was really excited about it. There wasn't a lot of Black females, working in this space even at that time. So I was just really excited to just kind of learn about it. So I took many courses. I partnered with different platforms from Udemy, Coursera, with Stanford University, just to really get an understanding of more about the education of it. Because like I said, it's a revolution and the revolution is artificial intelligence. So that's what kind of sparked my interest. And also I have a son, he's 9 years old. And I always talk about this, when I look at when he is my age, how work is going to be how entrepreneurship is going to be
very different.
It's going to be very different. So I wanted to make sure that I was prepared to be able to prepare him for what's next. So I'm a visionary. I'm always thinking about 5-10 years from now, 20 years, 30 years. So the more that I know is the more that I can give to my son, which is the next generation, right? So I just kind of really wanted to make sure that I had the knowledge, and I may not know everything, but at least if I know something that I can give to him that will help him prepare for the workforce. So that's kind of what sparked my interest.
Did you know that the Black Dollar leaves the community within 6 minutes? That's why we are excited to introduce the new Black is the New Rich app, designed for the Black community to be more intentional about where we spend our dollar. The directory consists of mostly financial services like real estate agents, financial advisors, tax consultants, mortgage agents, videographers, photographers, and many more. With our app, you can easily find and connect with quality services that are owned by Black entrepreneurs. And to ensure the integrity of the service on our app, all directory members are held accountable if they receive multiple bad reviews. Our mission is to circulate the dollar and provide quality services to our community. Download the Black is the New Rich app today and start investing in your community. Amazing. So for the people, this is the first time that we're actually talking about artificial intelligence on the show. So for the people that don't know, maybe they don't know what's going on. It's hard to not know what's going on. Can you break it down in simple forms? What is artificial intelligence and what is all this hoopla? What is this all about?
Absolutely. So first off, I'm going to say this again. We're in a revolution, and the revolution is artificial intelligence. So for those that may not know what it is, that's fair. It's really where you're taking machines and computers that are doing the things of what humans could do, what the human brain can do, whether that be tasks, send in an email, and we'll take a deeper dive into these particular things, but that's really what it is. Artificial intelligence, I know when we think about it, it's like, wow, this new concept, but it's actually been around for many decades. And for those that's been tapping into technology, know that this is not something new. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So if you look at Siri, Alexa, these are all examples of artificial intelligence. Even if you pick up your smartphone and you actually start just swiping the screen, that's artificial intelligence, all the way down to face recognition. That's artificial intelligence. So like I said, it's been around for many, many decades. And it's really been kind of set to a certain specific group of people and individuals. So it's now kind of being enlightened to the public. And I'll shift into that in a moment. But just to give it a little bit more insight, even when you go into Instagram, TikTok, all of these social media platforms, Netflix, when you open up these particular apps, it's actually collecting data and the data that you're feeding it. So when you actually go into Instagram and you start watching particular type of content, if you notice it starts to push more content to you that's more related, all of a sudden, you were looking at how to make bread. I'm giving an example. And then now you log back in the next day and now there's like 10 videos on how to make bread. So that's artificial intelligence, right? Behind the scenes. And for those that love Netflix and Amazon, when you go on these particular apps, it's collecting all this data and then it's actually recommending, right? Recommending what you should buy, recommending what you should watch, right? And you almost get hooked into it because again, the data that you're feeding it, it's like, it starts to learn.
It's catering to you.
Yes. And it starts to learn who you are, right? So that's artificial intelligence on a whole. Now let's talk about, okay, what's caused this whole disruption? Because, artificial intelligence, like I said, it's now being offered to the public. And that's where things are changing, where we're looking at artificial general intelligence, where we're looking at the computer now being able to reason and to allow prediction. So Chat GPT has never been a thing ever. In my whole life, my lifespan, I've never seen a technology like this. So this is why there's a hype now. And it's warranted because, like I said, if we look back 5, 10, 20 years, I came from a generation where I had to go to the library
same.
and open a book and actually go through to find information. So I don't know if everybody remembers that time. So now we're in a time, fast forward now, where I can jump on a software, an interface, type in a question and get an answer right away. So technology, is it moving at a fast pace? Not necessarily, because in other countries, they've adopted this technology even already.
Okay. Sorry, not to cut you off.
Absolutely.
So what I understand about something like Chat GPT, I think a lot of people are afraid because they think that it knows what it's talking about. But from my understanding, it's a language model that puts familiar words together, which is a little bit different.
Yes. So it's actually been trained off of, a lot of data.
Yes.
So it's actually trained this model off of conversations, off of how humans actually talk on many different subjects. So if that's why you can actually prompt it to actually say, okay, like, could you help me build a business? And it's able to actually give you different types of perspectives on how to build this business because it's been trained on all of this data. So it's like you're talking to, and I train on this all the time. It's like you're talking to a really smart friend.
Yes. That has all the answers.
That has all the answers. At any time, 24/7, and actually starts to learn how you interact. It starts to learn your personality. So even though it's been trained on previous data, it's actually still being trained now on how you interact with it. So it's actually training as we're using it. So it's pretty cool. But I just wanted to go back to this point is that Chat GPT, it's a revolution because the public has never had access to this like this before. So it's definitely disrupting a lot of spaces. It's disrupting a lot of industries. There's actually a really well-known expert. His name is Andrew Ng, and he actually says that artificial intelligence is actually the new electricity.
Wow.
So what that means, if we actually think about electricity when it came into play, electricity, people were like, nah, what is this? This, that can't take over steam. So a lot of manufacturers didn't even know how to adopt to electricity. But electricity, and the reason why he said that artificial is the new electricity is because it's going to actually transform humans, the way that humans actually work, the way that life happens, the way that you actually meet your spouse, your future spouse. Like it's going to transform also many industries from finance to transportation to, you name it, even how you go to see a doctor, it's transforming everything. And I actually laugh about this because I remember, when humans went to the moon and it was like a huge thing. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, we went to the moon. And it was really an exciting moment in time for humans. But this is actually a big, huge thing for humans right now. And when I actually reflect back on humans going to the moon, all I see is a picture.
Yeah.
So it actually really didn't really affect my life.
Because you had to use your imagination for everything.
Did you go to the moon?
No.
I didn't go to the moon either. But again, for human race, it was something that was unprecedented. But we're in a time now. I just want everybody to just to kind of lock in with me. We're in a time right now where we're going to the moon. We are going to the moon right now. And actually that's something that one of my hashtags and slogans, like we're lifting off right now. We're going to the moon because that's exactly what's happening to the human race right now. And for those that have been sleeping, now is a good time to wake up, listen to this episode and start to learn more about artificial intelligence because it's going to affect us on a greater scale than going to the moon because everyone in every industry is going to be affected by this.
Jeez. So I was reading a headline and it stated in the next 10 years, 300 million jobs will be either lost or changed. What do you feel about that?
Absolutely. So this is a heated conversation we're going to have here because some may agree and some may not. But the workforce right now, the nature of work, how we work is going to be revolutionized. And we're in a renaissance of that taking place. And I always say when I actually worked for a lot of different organizations, they were like, oh, we can't do that. The computers can't do this. So they put a lot of limitations on these particular software and computers. But the way that work is going to be shifted, and I actually want to talk about technology. So we have our phones, right? We got excited about the iPhone. We got excited about the internet. Remember when the internet came in 2000, everybody's like, oh, it's going to crash all our computers. That's not the technology we're dealing with. We're dealing with where it can actually eliminate jobs.
Yes.
And Google, Apple, all of these big...
They're threatened right now.
Not threatened. They actually froze the job market right now. They're not hiring anyone. Mass layoffs is taking place across all of these tech companies. This is an indication of what's happening to the job market. I was actually working for 3 different tech companies, laid off because I automated my role every single time. So I'm just like saying, like, you know, the media will scare you, and the media will actually distract you from things that don't really matter to the technology that's coming actually right now. So it's very important not to be scared of it, because if you actually jump ahead of it and start to learn about the curve that's taking place, you won't get left behind. And I go back to the electricity concept. When the electricity came out, a lot of manufacturers like, no, we're not going to embrace it. We're going to stick to steam. Where are they now? Closed. Right? So I urge everyone that's listening to this conversation is to take heed now. Don't be scared of this technology. Now's a great time to double down and learn it.
100%.
Because if you learn it, you're not going to be with that 300 million that's getting, cut. And now, like, what's going on? All of a sudden, they're saying God's coming back because they weren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
So this is not God coming back. This is that, baby steps. So it's actually preparing.
It's a shift.
It's a shift that's happening. So yeah, there's articles going around saying 300. Actually, I think there was one that came out and said within 24 months that we're looking at 1 million jobs being, replaced. So this is something in my lifetime, and this is probably going to be something epic for the next 50 years for humans, because, like I said, it's not just like the internet came and it shuffled things, but now this is actually going in and saying we can replace your job. And I actually said this to somebody the other day, because we had a back and forth about it. I said, it was a lawyer, and I said, it can actually replace your job. The person said, no, it's just going to replace the lower white collar jobs.
Think again.
I can go on Chat GPT right now, and I can actually prompt it to be my legal go-to friend. So why is there going to be a need for me to actually sit down with a lawyer when I can actually leverage Chat GPT and different platforms and AI platforms to help me with legal documents? You can actually go on Chat GPT, and this is how great this is like the technology that we're moving into, which is ASI, artificial super intelligence.
What is that?
That's actually where it's going to be smarter than humans.
Okay. Wow.
So that's where we're going. They're saying by 2030, 2060, that we're going to be into a place where artificial intelligence is going to be so smart. It's actually going to be smarter, better, and just
more efficient
than humans. And when you actually call into customer service right now and you get that AI bot that gets on the phone and you're just so frustrated, you're just like, oh man, it's not hearing me.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2030, you're going to actually pray to God that you get an AI bot at that time, because it's going to be so able to communicate with you faster than a human. When you actually look at a human that actually works at customer service, they are dealing with so much emotions.
Yes.
They're waking up, they're grumpy. Some of them don't even want to work. Some of them don't like their job.
Everything's biased.
Right? So imagine now getting to a point where you're like, oh, are you human? Oh, don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to AI. I want to talk to an AI bot because we're not dealing with, I don't care about your emotion now. I'm dealing with somebody that can understand what I'm saying.
Just your problem. But here's the thing. Let me play God's advocate for a second.
Absolutely.
I said this, when AI takes off and when it becomes completely normal and everybody's using it, everyone knows how to use it, I thought, like, just for example, like you see how you have like the organic fruits and organic, like the vegan movement. I feel like organic human behavior for businesses will almost be a thing for the people that want to deal with humans. What do you think about that?
There's always going to be, like if we look at specific generations, right? Those that came from paper and pen, just to sign legal documents, they believe that you have to go face to face and get that physical signature. Now we have DocuSign, right? That can do that. So, I'm not saying it's going to wipe out everything. I'm actually saying that when we get to a certain point in life, it's going to be very different. We're actually, so if we look at the iPhone, it's gone through many software updates. There was the iPhone 1 at one point. We're at Chat GPT 3.
Yeah. In a matter of how many months?
Like 60 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? So just imagine when we get to Chat GPT 100.
Yeah.
We're not going to be sitting here talking about the people that want to do human interaction.
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
Because I'm just being honest, like even Elon Musk talked about it. And actually he wanted
to slow it down.
Yeah, he wants to slow it down. He's excited about what's happening, but he actually foresaw the future. He said that regulation needs to happen. And this is why we have the public scared right now, because regulation is not a thing right now for artificial intelligence. People can actually go into, I know they've locked it down now, but when it first came out, you can actually go into it and say, how do I build a bomb? Right? So these are things that are happening. But to go back to your point is like, yes, there is going to be a group of people that will believe that, they don't want to let go of what they're used to.
Fair.
And that's a respectable thing, right? I actually still believe that human interaction is really needed. When we look at the pandemic, when that happened, it isolated humans. Humans were not meant to be locked up in homes and isolated. We were actually meant to actually be a community of people. So I still believe that human interaction is very important. However, there is going to be major shifts with the human race, with the economy. And like, actually, I was driving here and talking to somebody about crypto, and they were asking me, what do I think about cryptocurrency? This is not the same level. I just want to make sure we understand. Cryptocurrency is changing the financial market space. Artificial intelligence is changing many industries and humans, period, the human race, right? So like I said, we're going to the moon, and I'm excited about it. So I think everybody should be excited. And when I speak to a particular generation, they're so afraid of it. They start saying this is the apocalypse, or this is something that's coming to take or wipe out humans. But I don't really believe that. I believe that at one point, because we're in Canada, they're going to regulate it, and they're going to allow it to be safe for us to be able to use it in a
to our benefit. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Amazing. So I do want to ask you quickly, what do you think are what top jobs are being threatened right now?
All of them.
No, and is there anyone particular?
So definitely, I guess let's talk about a few ones that come to my mind right away. So I think I'll look at customer service.
Yeah.
Customer service is going to be radically changed within the next 12 to 24 months. And a lot of organizations, they are actually building out their AI teams as we speak. And some have already built them out years ago for getting ready to lift off right now.
Jeez.
So there's going to come a time where you're going to show up to work and they're going to say that your services are no longer needed because they have trained an AI bot to replace you. While you're taking those calls right now, they have an AI team that is training them off of all your emotions. Every interaction. And it's not just like one interaction, they're doing it off of like billions of interaction. So at one point, customer service is wiped out. I definitely 100% agree. So what do you do now? Now is a great time to start to learn on how you can actually repurpose your skill sets. If you think that you can rely on the skills that you have now in the job market that's to come, you are completely wrong.
100%.
And I'm going to talk about managers as well.
Okay.
Because managers think that they're off limits as well. You are not off limits. Your job is going to be replaced because they have systems and softwares and machines right now that can actually. So I'm just going to take a step back. So if customer service jobs are going to be out, where does that leave managers? What are you managing?
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually know, right? I actually know people right now within my circle that they've actually shifted their management position, either demoted them or shifted them to a different task to do because they're no longer needed. Because a lot of these large banks, and I'm just going to talk about it because I went to an event and I was just really shocked. All these banks, these big, larger banks are getting ready to shift gears with customer service and management, these particular roles, because they have trained different sort of machines to learn how to speak to customers. And actually 2017, I think it's 2016 or 2017, Google actually came out with a new personal assistant. And it actually provided as an example, it actually called a salon to book an appointment for its client.
Wow. And
when you actually listen to the interaction, it sounded like it was a human.
Wow.
Google has been holding on to this from 2016, 2017.
I heard Google has something where they only need to hear 3 seconds of your voice.
Absolutely.
To have a full conversation.
Yeah. So there's even something called deep fake.
Yeah, deep fake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming out right now where, you can build the most beautiful woman. You can build, and these are all fake. You can build the most intellectual man, right? Because a lot of Toronto, we talk about Toronto guys. So you can actually, no shade there, but you can actually build whatever you want, right? So it's just like I said, it's like really changing the game. Even if we look at entertainment too, there's and everybody, if you've been hiding in a rock, I don't know how you're not hearing about this, but there's a ghostwriter out there that's actually
doing
coming
songs.
up with
AI
songs.
Drake. And it's fire.
And it's good songs.
It's fire.
When I heard it, I'm like, wait a second. Drake, it actually makes me look at like, Drake, what have you been doing? Because this is fire, right?
It's fire.
So it's like, you got to really think about the shift that's coming. So going back to your point, what jobs are going to be replaced? So that definitely.
Customer service management.
Absolutely. And I'm going to shift into healthcare. There was a time when I actually went to a doctor and I was misdiagnosed. And I always think back to it. And that actually I started researching healthcare. There's a lot of people right now being misdiagnosed because one, doctors are under a lot of pressure. Hospitals are actually understaffed right now. There's just a lot of pressure going on. Even if we look at the pandemic, hospitals couldn't even hold people. So there's going to be a time, and I know for sure, I actually just went to a summit that spoke about this where it can detect breast cancer before it even built in your system.
Wow.
So that's the type of artificial intelligence that they're building, that they're actually saying 99% you'll never be misdiagnosed.
Whoa.
You'll be able to actually, instead of going to a physician, you'll be able to just have your body scanned and it actually picks up things based off of data. So let's going back to originally what I said. Why is there such a craze? It's because now machines and computers, prediction, reasoning.
It's 100%.
100% now. It's been trained off of billions of data. So you're going to be in a point now where do you want to go to a physician where you can possibly get misdiagnosed? Or do you want to go to an artificial intelligence where they can actually scan your body and say, stop eating donuts every morning because you actually will get diabetes in 5 years? This is legit things that's actually being discovered and created right now. There's been a plug of billions of dollars into artificial intelligence because this is where we're going. This is the direction we're going in.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. So when it comes to artificial intelligence and small businesses, Ontario is 98% small businesses. So how can we use AI to benefit our businesses?
Absolutely. So can we talk about the Black community?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yes.
So right now there's a lot of black professionals, entrepreneurs that have some amazing ideas. But the execution is where we're kind of limited. And I actually coach entrepreneurs right now in small businesses. And what I'm noticing, there's a lot of individuals that are working in the business and not on the business.
Elaborate that.
Yeah. So what that means is when I'm coming to coach some small business clients that are, especially Black owners, they're the ones that are wearing all these hats: marketing, branding, sending emails, customer support, making the product.
Honestly, that sounds like me. Jeez. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's everybody.
No.
Let's be honest, because sometimes the blueprint's not there, right? So it's a juggling act. And this is actually one of the reasons why Black businesses can't scale, because we are wearing all these hats thinking that we could be a master of it all. And I'm not saying that we can't, but it's now time to lift off now. Not efficient, not productive, and it's actually holding you back from scaling and being a multimillionaire. So when we look at artificial intelligence, how can it help? It can help with everything. It can be a virtual personal assistant, and we'll talk about Agent GPT at one point.
Yes.
But it can also help you by creating like a chatbot. When you have clients coming in or customers coming in and asking about your service, instead of you actually being there saying the same mundane thing over and over again, selling yourself, selling your product or your service, you can actually have a chat bot. And that's actually what my business is going to be doing. Future IQ is it's going to be building chat bots for small businesses so that they don't actually have to be there to get the money, right? They can have people come to and talk with their chatbot and it feels like a human and it actually feels like them. You can train it all around your personality. So that's something else that we can, definitely leverage artificial intelligence. And I want to also talk about this accounting. This is actually something that's really missed within Black small businesses. They're not looking at accounting. They're not looking at how much money they're making. They're not looking at how much money they're spending. And they have no idea what's going on financially in their business. So that's another thing that you can leverage with artificial intelligence. It can actually create a whole beautiful Excel sheet showing you every time you spend something, it goes right into the Excel sheet automatically through a software where you can actually start to have the artificial intelligence email you, hey, did you know that you're losing business by 40%? So it can actually start to bring up these facts within your business. But I do want to go back to the point, we have too much people working in the business and not on it. So how do you scale a business when you're actually doing everything?
It's hard.
So the Black community cannot afford to hire talent because we don't have a lot of funding coming into these businesses. So how do we make this happen? Through artificial intelligence, right? Having a virtual assistant that, what is it, a subscription of $10 a month?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Pause the Netflix subscription and start putting your money into things that's going to actually build up your businesses. So that's something that I truly believe that, you know, there's definitely pros and cons, but the biggest pro that you can look at is you can have and leverage this technology and it's accessible. It's all there. So instead of being afraid of it and being like, no, and I literally had somebody say this, no, I need to talk to my customers. It's like, no, you don't. You need to work on sales
what you're good at.
And what you're good at, right? And start to work on revenue, getting new clients and things like that. You don't need to be there sending out an email. You don't need to be there.
Yeah, because even I've adopted artificial intelligence within my own business. I've started using Chat GPT for my email list.
Okay.
There's another program that came out 2 days ago. It edits podcasts for you.
Okay.
It's a game changer. It's about it cuts. You still have to do work, but it cuts about at least an hour and a half of time.
Right.
So that works as well. But I think you made a great point about, you know, we don't have the funding to hire this person, that person. And so we need to be looking into artificial intelligence to be doing certain roles so we can scale. Because I think that's even, and I can be very vulnerable and honest, that's my biggest problem right now.
That's a lot of businesses' big problem, right? Because, you know, we don't have the blueprint. Some of us are just figuring it out as we go. But something that I will always say is technology is there. If you start to look at your habits, if you can create at least an hour in your day to start learning about technology and how you can leverage it, instead of doing the same thing, expecting
Over and
different
over.
results.
Fair.
Right? Because sometimes I used to be like that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing every year.
Fair.
Right? Because I said it to myself, I want to be a multimillionaire. But if I'm doing the same thing since 2003, how am I going to be a multimillionaire? So this is how we need to step it up. And I actually was talking to somebody, I said, artificial intelligence. Oh, I'm not tech. I'm not in tech. You don't need to be in tech. This is not a tech thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? This is a revolution. It's a paradigm shift. It's a renaissance that's taking place right now. And if you're not on this wave, you're going to be left behind.
And we have as equal as possible playing field.
To an extent, right? Yeah, I do feel like now's a great time for especially Blacks to get involved, because a lot of the software that's being created, a lot of these machines, these smart gadgets that we have, it's actually being created by the opposite culture. Like, you know, if I can say, it's being created by whites. And actually, I went to a study the other day, and a self-driving car actually couldn't recognize a Black person crossing the street.
Interesting.
So when we talk about bias, a lot of these algorithms and complex data is all being orchestrated around a certain particular person, how they look. So we need more Black people
to be in these spaces.
Absolutely. We need more Black creators to be creating these softwares. Absolutely. Because we can't just have one person at the table. And this is how it goes back to slavery and things like that. We need more Black people at the table. This is not just a tech thing. It's not just like, you know, the internet. This is something that's going to change the game for humans, period. So why not get to the table first? We're at the beginning.
Fair.
Right? Like I said, this is Chat GPT 3. Chat GPT 100 is going to be here. But we're at the beginning of going to the moon. Why wouldn't you want to get on a bus? Why wouldn't you want to get on that bus to be on that? You know, like, it just, for me, we got to change things up. It's a no-brainer. Artificial intelligence is it's definitely where it's at. Like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons. But we have an ability to produce a lot of millionaires right now. There's really no excuse. And information is at our fingertips. As I sit with you right now, I can go on Chat GPT and create even my whole script here.
Yeah.
Right?
Literally.
I'm just saying, like we had some excuses before, but we have no excuses right now. We have access to technology where we can actually go online. You want to write a book?
Like this. Like
Come
this.
on. What's our excuses? Procrastination?
Yeah, like this.
Imposter syndrome? The mindset is what we're battling. It's ourselves that we're battling, because right now there's no excuses. If you want to build $1 million business, you can go on ChatGPT right now, and you can go on Agent GPT, and you can start to build out $1 trillion business. It actually does it all for you.
Wow.
And it gives you the steps. You can even prompt it. Okay, give me the steps. Be a subject matter expert in this field and show me exactly the next steps, what I need to do to be a millionaire. Like I said, there's just really no excuses now.
So can we talk about some basic tools? Like I know we've been talking a lot about the Chat GPT, and you just mentioned Agent GPT, which I briefly started using maybe a couple days ago, and I've tried out Midjourney as well. Can you talk about some basic tools that we can start to use now?
Okay. So I actually, because I know there's Chat GPT and things that we've already heard.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about things that is not really in the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is stuff that I actually use. So I'm going to talk about perplexity.
Okay.
So this is actually where, because I actually posted a video about this, the differences between Google and ChatGPT. And I was kind of shocked how much people said they liked Google. I can tell you the last time I went on Google, to be honest.
Really?
I go on ChatGPT. However, if you do like the combination of Google and ChatGPT, then you're going to want to go into this AI software. And again, it's called Perplexity. And this is really where Google meets ChatGPT. It gives you answers, and it also gives you the sources as to where they got the answers. So you could click on the link and go to the actual
web
website.
page.
Yes.
Okay.
So it really depends on your comfort level. But that's something I would highly recommend. I'm going to talk about this because this has actually come up quite a bit with an annoyance for people. So you have professionals and entrepreneurs that may join, different types of meetings. There's an AI software called Crisp that actually removes the background noise. So like a dog barking or a baby crying. So even as we're filming this right now, and you may have a dog or even your phone goes off, you can actually download Crisp, and it actually removes all of those annoying sounds that may pop up in your video.
Okay, dope. I'm gonna need that.
So something else just to help out the writers, Compose AI. AI is a writing software. It actually helps you cut down your writing by 40%. This is actually something that I use right now. So ChatGPT is good, but you're giving it prompts, right? But what if you want to rely on your own human intelligence, right? And you still want to kind of have some sort of background with it where you can create it. You can actually go onto this website and you'll be able to actually have it write things for you. And you can actually, give it a few words, and it can start to develop different types of blogs and books. I also want to talk to the individuals that love music. There's a platform right now called Supertone AI. It generates music, voices, and sounds. So very similar to that ghostwriter that we have right now
AI
that's
Drake.
making. Exactly. So if you're really into producing these exclusive sounds, that's a platform that I would highly recommend. And those that actually want to start creating content but don't want to put their face in front of a camera or just don't have the time, there's an app called dd.com where you can actually go on it. You just film your face for about a few seconds, and then it starts to create content with your face.
Really?
Yes.
And it'll have you speaking as well.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And my last thing here is Midjourney. Oh my gosh. Midjourney has been something that has really changed the game for me, honestly. You can actually put in a few text words and it generates beautiful pictures, high quality pixels.
Quality.
Have you been able to use
Yes,
it?
yes,
Yeah, it's
yes.
just like honestly a game changer. Now it cannot understand words, but where you can actually make a a logo. Actually, you asked me what jobs are going to be taken.
Graphic designers.
Graphic designers.
But they've already been on the way out because of Canva.
Actually, my second business that I created, I spent about $1,500 for my logo.
Wow. Yeah, you don't never have to do that now.
Right now, I just designed my logo for Futuric. $10 a subscription, not even a day or per logo. That's what I pay per month.
Wow.
And it actually just generated my logo. So there goes Upwork. I don't know if anybody knows Upwork.
Yeah, I know Upwork. Yeah.
So you don't
the
have
Fivers are super.
Absolutely. But on the flip note, if you actually want to be a millionaire, I would actually go onto these websites now and start to present yourself as a local designer, because now you can go to Midjourney and create these win-win for everybody, right? I'm always thinking like, okay, how can I make money off of this? And I think that's the mindset that people need to have.
100%.
Don't be afraid of it. Start to think about how can I make money off of this, because the more that you're afraid and running away from it, the ones that are actually running towards it, those are where we're going to have the millionaires coming out of, right, out of our culture and our
and also society. Too, I believe if you're afraid of it, you're going to be a consumer of it regardless.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think that you should like step into it, like you said, spend an hour a day, learn something new about it, and build on your skills.
Absolutely. So I always like look at what are the habits what are your habits in a daily basis, and start to like, people always say to me, oh, I have no time. But when we actually break down what they're doing in their time, sometimes we get lost in our phone for an hour. We're like, okay, I'm going to spend like 5 minutes on social media. I'm just going to quickly check in. But an hour goes by and you're still actually scrolling. That's artificial intelligence, that whole like habit there. So you really have to start to dig deep within, what you're doing on a daily basis, and start to shift gears instead of being afraid of things. Like I remember 2000, people were afraid of the internet. I remember the day my dad was like, turn off all the computers. Everything's
Y2K.
good, right? Y2K. It's not a time to be afraid of things. It's a time to actually run towards it. And this is actually good for anybody that's listening. When you actually see people running towards or away from things, that's the best time to run towards it. It's almost like the stock market.
I like that.
When people are not, buying, that's the best time to buy type 100%. Of thing. So I always say that run towards things when people are running away, because you're going to be the first, right, to be able to start to leverage this technology.
So I want to talk a little bit about your video that you posted, and I felt like it was so needed, and it was so raw, it was so honest, and it was something along the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, of course, if you have a business and you're not making money, you actually have a hobby. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
Because we need to hear the truth about behind that message.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I got a lot of messages actually from that, where people were just like, there are a lot of mixed messages about it. And I think the delivery, yes, it was harsh, but it was needed.
And it was very needed.
If your business is not giving you an income, then it is just a hobby. And when we actually think about hobbies, like you'll have somebody that collects coins as an example. You're not making any money off of this. And we have to really realize, what is business? Business is about making money. It's about profitability. And if you're saying to me you have a business, but when I look at your spreadsheet, you're at a negative and even $0, then this is not a business. This is a hobby. So I had to post it because I need people to radically shift. We need to radically shift our mindset, because if we want to have wealth for our family, if we want to have an illumination where we're bringing money in, or even becoming a multimillionaire, we have to really look at the stuff that we're doing here. If you're producing like a skincare line, like I had somebody that I was talking to that has a skincare line, but it's been about 4 years since she's actually seen any money.
Ooh,
then what are we doing here?
That's a long time.
And actually, when I came in here and I was talking to you on my podcast, these stuff are a lot of, like, yes, you have to put the work in first, right? Yes. I want people to understand the context behind it. You have to put the work in, yes. And you have to generate momentum within your business. But after, a year and 2 years, 3 years, and you're not producing any money,
something's wrong. Something's up.
You gotta take a step back and start to analyze what you're doing. Because a lot of us, we have to have strategies within our business and just within even our lives in general. If you don't have a strategy on how you're going to make money, then you need to pause. And it's okay to tap in advisors, and it's okay to tap in consultants, and it's okay to even go to people that's actually making money to try to figure out, okay, what is the missing piece here? But we have no time as a culture, because this is the Black is the New Rich. We have no time as a culture to be sitting down and playing with our thumbs and building these businesses that is not generating any money, because it's not going to move your family into a particular financial situation. So that's what I mean. And I've actually been saying this for probably over a decade.
Wow. Wow.
That was actually one of my first messages when I did my first speaking event, was that start to analyze what you're doing within your business. Look at your strategy, start to evaluate what's making sense, what's not making sense. Another thing is, just like with our spending habits as a culture, if we don't know how much we're spending in our business, and if we don't know, and we're not tracking these things, and we don't even know our profit margin, what are we doing here?
What are we doing? Yeah.
Right? We need to know all these things inside and out. It's okay to have an idea and a dream, but it needs to make money and it needs to be scalable. That's another thing. So earlier in our conversation, we spoke about people working in the business and not on it. That's a scalability issue. How do you scale with just one person?
100%.
Real talk. Like, if we actually talk about this, I actually worked for a tech company and they used me to scale out a particular department. The only way for me to do that was to hire on more people.
Jeez.
I can't do it by myself. And this is something that we need to realize as a culture. And sometimes we get timid to have people work in our business because we're like the crabs in a bucket mentality.
Yes.
We're afraid that they're going to take our vision. But actually, somebody gave me a reality check many years ago. We need to start developing relationships where we have people coming into our business and helping us. They may not be there. And I say this, people always, it's good to realize that people in your business have to be there for a season. So they can be there for a moment or they can be there for longevity. But you really have to analyze, okay, why am I bringing this person in? You need to have people in your business helping you. What is it to spend? What is the minimum wage? $16 now?
Yeah.
What is it to spend an hour giving somebody $16 just for them to help you be able to go and do something else with your time?
Yes. Yes.
So this is an issue that we're having right now. We have way too much businesses popping up, especially small businesses, especially within the Black community, where we're so passionate about our service.
There's a lot of passion projects for sure.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not a nonprofit that you're building. You're building, again, we're building a business here. So we have to analyze that. Everything I do, every business that I've done, it's always been the focus. And somebody was like, oh, Edwina, why are you always focused on money? And for those that believe in God, God doesn't want us to live a life that is mediocre. God actually created this whole world, if you believe in this, in 7 days. So he wants us to have a life of abundance.
Yep.
But let's just talk about it. Like, if some people are like, oh, money's bad, it's the root of all evil. No, honey. Money will give you options. And because money kind of runs the world, when we say cream, right? That rap song, Cream. You got to really think about it. God wants the best for you. And what does that mean? Education, knowledge, learning consistently, and trying to set yourself in a position of abundance. Creating opportunities for yourself. That's what God did. He created the whole world in 7 days.
100%.
And actually, I was teaching my son this the other day, and he's like, Mommy, God really did this? I'm like, yeah, that's an example that he doesn't want you to be basic.
Yeah.
He wants you to be a leader. He wants you to be a CEO. He wants people to own their own business.
Creator.
Right? And be a millionaire. What is wrong to say that? Right? I believe that we're in a place right now through artificial intelligence where we can definitely leverage things and become a multimillionaire, not just a millionaire. A millionaire now is nothing. We need to be now thinking about multimillionaire levels, how do we become a billionaire, right? Those are type of the things that I want us to kind of get to the level of.
Actually, you saying all that kind of reminds me of what I heard 19 Keys say one time. And he's like, we gotta, he said something along the lines of our ego actually has to get bigger. And he said, because in our ancestors' days, like, they had big statures of themselves. So just imagine how big their ego was to get something like that and to put something there. But everyone always tells us, be humble, be quiet, shh. Like, and he was saying, no, let's tap into our ego a little bit more so we can get more millionaires or billionaires. Absolutely.
And actually, something that I'm known for saying is, we have to make some noise when we're doing things. Like,
elaborate on that.
We don't have the time to be sitting in our four corners. And people wonder why their business is not successful or scaling, is because you're not telling anybody what you're doing. What is it to go create content or go online and tell people about your business? Let's get out of our head. So 19 Keys is right. We need to build our ego up because we are giants.
Exactly.
Right? So let's start making noise when we're doing things. People are always like, nah, I'm going to work in silence. I'm going to move. And I'm saying, yeah, you should have a strategy about working in silence, but we are generations behind. We don't have any time.
Yeah, we don't have time.
to be working in silence. And it's really interesting. People would rather work in silence and this has actually been a mindset change of mine for many years is people don't want to ask people about their opinions. And I'm not saying to ask everybody for their opinion, but you have to ask the right people for their opinions because you need it. It's just like you're driving a car. When you have a passenger in your car, they're actually there to see the blind spots that you can't see. And it's just like a business. If you are creating a business plan and you have this passion project that you're working on, what is it just to ping somebody and ask them for their opinion? You can't do this by yourself. We need as much people
we need
within
a collective to come together.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And somebody actually came to me many years ago and says, who's your committee? You need to have a committee of people that you can go and sit down with and say, again, I'm not working in silence here. I'm making noise when I'm doing things. I'm telling at least 10, 12 people what I'm doing to get their input to see, okay, and then you take it away and have that alone time with yourself and try to
extract the good information.
Absolutely. So like I said, we have no time to be working in silence. Now's the time to make some noise when you're doing things.
Okay, amazing. I kind of want to go back to the AI thing for a second. Where are you sourcing your information when learning about AI? I think that's important as well.
Oh, absolutely. So, I've curated even down to my social media. And I'm going to say this again. You have to be careful what you click on these social medias. Yeah. TikTok is the new learning app. You can actually put anything into TikTok and it gives you videos on that subject. So where am I going for this information? I'm going to good resources. So I'm going to either Coursera, I'm going to Udemy, I'm taking courses with universities. I'm actually going to networking events. I'm literally at every networking event. Honestly,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
People are always like, why are you going to so much networking events? Because the amount of knowledge that you get versus sitting on your couch at home, you are out and about. You can actually have, and when I go to these networking events, I actually have intention as to why I'm going. Is if I'm going to an AI event, I'm writing down questions that I need answered. And why not go where the leaders are, right? So I'm going out, I'm networking with individuals. And then also I'm getting feedback after. I'm looping them into what I'm doing. But the biggest thing is start to curate your day around learning. So whether that's ordering books, whether that's I just bought another paper Kindle. Okay. Where I can get books right to my, I don't know if everybody's familiar with paper Kindle, but it's pretty much instead of reading it on your phone, it's a nice technology.
Like a tablet book kind of thing?
It's like a tablet, but it's really good for those that are, because I'm an advocate reader, I'm always reading, and sometimes you can get eye strain with a lot of the mobile devices. So this actually is just paper, but it's like in like a nice, beautiful technology that looks like a tablet. But you have to be consistently reading. We don't do enough reading.
I agree.
And actually, if you go to other countries like London as an example, they're always listening to the news. They're always like learning something. So when I come back to like for Canadians, especially Black Canadians, because that's who your audience is, we have to read. We need to pick up books. We need to be like, I love your bookshelf. Like you have so much books over here. You have to be reading. That's where I get my information from. People ask me how I was able to develop such a knowledge for artificial intelligence because I actually became intentional
about wanting to know the knowledge.
Absolutely. Exactly. So you can become intentional with your learning. What is it to go online and just to Google? Even go on Chat GPT right now and ask it, what are the top sources or resources that I should tap into to learn more about artificial intelligence?
And I'll give you a list.
It gave me like 10 points. And every day I check mark off that list that it gave me originally. And I'm going through and I'm reading it. I took a course by a really big expert, and I spoke about him earlier, Andrew Ng. He's actually a great leader when it comes to artificial intelligence. So if you're looking right now and you're like, okay, where can I go to start? I would say start with his program. Okay. He has different use cases on there, business owners, small business owners, even if you're just looking for life and just in general. He teaches you everything that you need to know about artificial intelligence. And then after you're done, he's actually created his course where it actually gives you recommendations after the courses as to what to take next. So I mean, start to be bullish with your time.
Yeah,
Not everybody deserves your energy and your time. You need to start shifting the gears and start saying, you know what?
Being intentional.
I literally do this. Like, I put my phone on do not disturb. And some people get upset. Like, hey, I've been calling you for the last hour.
Yeah.
It's not important, bro.
Exactly.
I'm here. I'm learning right now.
Yeah.
Right. So when I'm in my meditation state and learning, I have an office at home. And once that door is closed, everybody knows I'm going into deep work.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, somebody recommended that book for me. And I recommend it to your audience, Deep Work. Because it really believes, so a lot of the successful individuals have a time where they spend about a week just learning and going into deep work, removing themselves from social media, removing themselves from technology and all these distractions, and focusing on either on reading or going into a course and just taking that deep work and learning. So
that's going to be my next book.
Yeah, usually around my birthday, I've developed actually a tradition of mine for the last 12 years is on my birthday, I'm going into deep work.
Wow.
Because I need to create strategies for my life that allows for profitability and wealth. And I don't have any time during my birthday. I lock off time. I also go for a beautiful hike. An abundance hike is what I call it, where I write down in my journal of where I want to see myself.
Amazing.
And we need to start doing this. Stop living our lives on autopilot.
And elaborate, please.
Get off of doing the same things over and over again.
Fair.
Some of us have gone into a routine of life. Waking up, we do the same thing over and over again. Waking up, making breakfast, going into work, doing the same thing over and over again. That's what I mean. We're on autopilot. Disrupt your space right now. Stop doing the same thing, because like I said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again,
you're not even staying the same. You're getting worse.
Yeah. My dad, he's a Jamaican man. And for those that are Jamaican knows that Yardi men are very, interesting.
Stuck in their ways.
Not really stuck in their ways. I'm actually going to tell you a story. I remember one day my dad came down from Jamaica and he gave me about, I think it was like 4 or 5 books. And he said, stop being a zombie.
Interesting.
And I said, what are we talking about, Dad? Why are you saying that? He said a lot of people are just kind of walking aimlessly.
Yeah.
Right? And when he started to educate me on it, that was when I had a radical shift when I was younger. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I don't want to be a zombie. I want to get off autopilot. I just want to do what everybody's doing. And the only way to do that is through reading. So my dad actually introduced me to reading at a very young age.
That's amazing.
And his technique wasn't the greatest.
But it still
resonated. And from that, I appreciate what he did for me, because he gave me some books that they were beyond my time, but I was able to read it and understand it and just grow and learn. And I always appreciated learning from there. And some people will go to school and be like, okay, I'm done school, I'm done learning. But actually, when you finish school, that's when learning actually really starts. And if you're not a life learner, then that's why I say you're on autopilot.
100%. Because even me, like I've been vulnerable about it before, is that I actually dropped out. And as soon as I dropped out, I became an advocate learner. Like I love to learn. I love to read. And while I was in school, I never liked to do any of these things. But now, like if you even ask him, I'm always learning. I'm always intaking some new information or just working on something.
Yeah. And actually you made a good point. It's education. Artificial intelligence is going to change education. If we think about it, so education right now is, prompting a lot of these younger individuals to get ready for the work field. But the work field is being taken over by artificial intelligence. So what does that really look like now for, like, even my son who's 9? I'm trying to envision 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now. What does the workforce look like? So people used to put down college dropouts. And I think I was before my time. I used to tell people that this little paper that you have, that won't get you.
Yeah.
It's about experience.
100%.
So we're at a point right now, and this may be another topic for another day, but it's like looking at education, looking at going to school. What does this really look like for the future now that we have artificial intelligence? What does human intelligence look like when I don't even have to be a subject matter expert in anything? I can just go on Chat GPT and now I'm a subject matter expert.
Yes.
Oh, you want a business plan? Sure, let me do it. Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I don't really have to have it up here. But that's where you, like I said, we really have to appreciate, okay, what is coming and how do you really get ahead of the curve? So
100%. And I feel like even like you just said, like, you don't have to be the subject expert, but one thing that we do have to be great at is asking questions
Absolutely.
and being intentional to knowing what we want.
Yeah.
Because if you don't ask the great questions, then these things can't prompt you for success either.
Absolutely. So you have to really, and that was a course that I actually recently took as a prompt engineer. Because people are asking, okay, so what am I studying if I'm not studying customer service and all these, and I'm not getting these jobs? Then you have to shift gears. And prompt engineer is a huge thing that I would recommend everybody starting to learn, is because you made a valid point. If you don't have the knowledge to prompt these platforms, these AI softwares, then it's actually going to spit out nothing.
Exactly.
If you give it nothing, it's going to give you nothing. So why not try to master being a prompt engineer? And what that prompt is pretty much that question that you're giving that really smart friend that we spoke about, that robot. So if you don't know how to speak to it, it will not know how to speak back to you. So you have to have a level of human intelligence, absolutely. But start to shift gears and learn about these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, Edwina, I'm going to ask you 2 questions that we ask everybody on the podcast. And the first one, you don't have to say any names. What is the best advice that you've received? And what is the worst advice you received? Okay,
so let me start with the worst advice.
Okay.
So I used to, and I still kind of do, I work in the insurance industry. And I remember when I was first coming in the industry, somebody said to me, don't try to stick out. Don't try to, because I work, and let me take a step back. It was a male dominated industry. And I would be sometimes the only one, the only female, the only Black female showing up in these spaces. And I remember somebody says, don't try to be extra. Don't try to be unique. Don't even try it. Try to be like Bob. So I actually went through a few years trying to be like Bob. And one day I realized that wasn't working for me. So that was actually the worst advice and probably the best advice I got, because it made me realize that being you, that is what is your power. Being authentically you, showing up as you, that is your power. And nobody can take that away from you. So when you are going in as the only, take up space and don't be afraid to be you. Talk how you want to talk. Like sometimes we change our mechanisms and how we show up because we want to fit in, right? And that was something that I tried to do for many years, and it was just draining because I wasn't showing up authentically as myself. I wasn't talking like myself, right? I wasn't being myself. So that was probably the worst advice that I ever got. And one of the best advice I ever got is, you know, like I want to go back to this because this actually came in through a conversation, is read. Be a life learner. And I'm honestly gonna keep talking about this.
I love that.
That was one of the best advice I ever got ever in my life, is that never stop learning.
I love that.
And that will allow you to never be stagnant in life, because once you stop learning, then you become stagnant.
100%.
So
and
those
even
are my 2 things.
To your stagnant point, I do believe that people, like, I think I've said this earlier, is that people do not stay the same. They either progress or they get worse.
Yeah.
And if you're not learning, then you are getting worse.
Actually, if we look at the universe and we look, just if we take plants, what happens to plants is they're always growing, right?
Yeah.
Everything around us is always growing. So we have to look at this. The universe and God naturally wants us to grow. And if you're not learning and if you're just becoming stagnant, then what are you doing?
Then
you're dying.
Exactly.
So
yeah, exactly.
Like this is a real thing. Like I started really thinking about this. Like if you're not watering your soil or your grass,
you're dying.
You're dying. And that's the same thing when we're looking at being a human. You know, these tablets, these technology goes through so much software updates. When was the last time that you had a software update in your brain?
Woo!
No, like real talk.
Yeah, facts.
We're running to these laptops. Oh, we got to do this update.
Yeah.
But when was the last time that you did an update in your brain?
Ooh.
So if, again, I'm going to say this really clearly.
I like that one.
If you are not watering yourself, you're not growing, you're dying. And people say I'm too harsh, but this is just this is what it is. I don't sugarcoat anything. This is what it is, right? So
I love that. Last question. On this podcast, we like to make predictions, right?
Okay.
So in 5 years, I want to say Edwina did say she was going to do that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, multimillionaire.
Woo! Okay.
Absolutely. 5 years, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And then I'm also going to allow other multimillionaires to be born from me.
I love that.
So I'm a multiplier naturally. So what that means is if I'm on the elevator going up, I'm bringing everybody up with me.
I love that.
So
and we need that.
Absolutely. So that's where I'm going to be in 5 years, where I'm going to be a multimillionaire bringing other people up as well. So that's where I see myself. And I also see myself having massive success in 5 years. So yeah, that's where I see myself.
I love that. I love
Legend
that.
in the making.
I love that. I love that. Just let everybody know how they can reach you. If you want to let them know what you got going on again, let them know everything.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at Edwina McKennon, and please share my handles after.
Yes.
But you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Another great place is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my hub spot. So that's where you can find me. I do have a podcast, like I mentioned, and a TV series called Move Her Forward. And you can actually follow me there as well, where I believe in actually the opposite of emotions. I believe in creating strategies for women and empowering them to create their own strategies in their life. So you can also follow me there. But I'll share my email after as well. But if you want to send me a quick email, I do consulting and coaching around artificial intelligence, and my company Future IQ that's going to be launching soon. You'll be able to kind of find me on all those social media platforms. Amazing.
Well, Edwina, honestly, I want to say thank you for coming through. I know you're a busy person. I genuinely enjoyed this conversation because it's needed, and it's the first time we talked about artificial intelligence. And I just love your bluntness and rawness, because it's definitely needed in our community. It's time for a shakeup, especially in Canada and Toronto. I do see the shift happening, but we constantly need that shakeup. So thank you.
No problem. Well, thank you for having me. Love the initiative. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Everything black on black. If I studied that facts on facts.